looking in. Your voice is louder by feeding your power. Brother kid, I'm on the outside, I'm on the outside, I'm on the outside, looking in. Your voice is creeping, dropping or creeping, tapping your feet then. Brother kid, I'm on the outside, I'm on the outside, I'm on the outside, looking in. Your voice is creeping, dropping or creeping, tapping your feet then. Brother kid. Remember I said you look good in Vettel. Tell me about your blues. Look at my skin, I'm sickly and yellow. 'Cause all that I do is for you. Tell me a lie, oh no comforting words.
Fox
Hiya.
now, and we are just going to be learning a little bit more about Fox's artistic process. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so it's really exciting, and thank you, Gavin, for being here today as well. It's really, really exciting, and we're up.
From all the way over from Berchnad.
That's right.
The water.
In the Wirral.
Oh, that's
We've been hearing a little bit about your Scouse language. It's very foreign to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very exciting. Yes, so we're doing a live tweet, a live interactive art extravaganza, which is basically we're taking what's going on online into real life, IRL, and we're doing this by the power of screen printing. So over here we have a table set up with a screen with Transtopia on it, which is what people are tweeting right now. So if you're able to do a tweet, then that would be really, really helpful. And we will take your name, and we'll be printing your name onto onto book pages, and so they'll end up looking a little bit like this, like a color blend Transtopia. So people can retweet or mention what is Transtopia to them. So if you're trans, Transtopia might be something like Transtopia. Well, we could read some of them actually. Gavin, do you want to give them some real life tweets?
So, what's this one? This one on the top by Eco-Socialist 1998. So, 2020 just got one step better. One less transphobic piece of scum. I can see my tweet. Scum. That's a proper Scouse. That's a proper Scouse word.
Brilliant.
Yeah, trans rights and human rights hashtag. Yeah, I don't think we can disagree with that.
Yep.
Yeah, so people can tweet basically anything they want. Like, what is Transtopia to them? How would the world be better? What's a better world for trans people? So it can be anything like, I want a world where trans people can pee in peace, or I want a world where I can get access to healthcare, or whatever people can think of as small or as big as it is. Yeah.
So here we go with the first one. Very, very exciting. Al, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Yeah.
There we go.
And I'll grab one for you. Thank
And
you.
I'm just going to fill the screen.
So
And
tell me about the process. What am I witnessing?
what are you looking at? So this is, we've got some book pages, and I've got a screen here for screen printing. So I've set it up with an image, Transtopia, which reflects the hashtag that we're using today.
Yeah.
I've got a color blend going on and some trans pride colors. So I've got pink on the left-hand side, I've got blue on the right, my right. And then I'm just going to put the screen down like that. I've got a squeegee right here. I'm just going to angle it about 45 degrees, pull it right back, and then boom, we've got another.
Just have to say, I'm really enjoying the coordination right now.
Oh, thank you so much. I want to get some use out of
I
the
think it
suit.
needs to dry a bit.
Too, right, thank you. I love your outfit too. And you've got a really gorgeous gold
Yeah, I'll take two.
covering, haven't you, as well for your face, which you're not wearing right now, which is good.
I mean, shout out to our Colette on the whittle. So this is my mate's mum.
Amazing.
And she said to me, "Go on, keep having that one. He likes the bling, doesn't he?" So
There we
you know
go.
what she does with that.
Sorry. Oh wow.
What can we do?
Has me an extra
Gold,
one as well.
yeah, good life.
Gold.
Yeah.
So we're just getting cracking with the first ones, and this should be. We're going to get into a flow of things, I think, quite soon. So yeah, please keep all your tweets coming in, and other places too. So where are we launching this? I think we're not just on Twitter; we're in other places as well. So we're on Facebook, and we're on YouTube. Thank you very much. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. So as far as I'm aware,
That's the one.
yeah,
Facebook as well.
and Facebook,
The facey.
and the Facebook.
Buch.
Yes,
I like them.
that's another Scouser phrase.
Absolutely.
Buch.
The buch. You can really take that as long as you want. Buch.
Wonderful.
Face buch.
I'm just gonna, if you can get into the habit of just grabbing it from me,
Yeah.
that'd be awesome.
Right.
Cool. Get a nice production line going. And then, cool. So this is so that people can talk about what they think being trans means in the future. So Transtopia, like for me, for example, my future Transtopia is a place where people can walk down the street and feel safe and comfortable and not abused for the way they look, regardless of where they are with their transition or how they dress, you know, whether you dress outside the box. Then it doesn't just apply to trans people, it applies to everyone to feel safe walking down the street. And yeah, I really wanted to try this. So it's really fun to be printing. And I'm hoping we're going to get a bit of momentum going so we can get as many as possible and put them pretty close together, Al, because I think we're going to try and print quite a few. Thank you.
So, kind of have a look at. So, who is the one
Thank you.
now?
This one
This person's
says,
Twitter handle.
my HMB Academia.
Academia.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got an academic in our midst.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Um,
Maybe you could read out some of these for me, because
Oh,
I'd love to
yeah.
hear what's happening.
so
Yeah.
there's
On the socials.
Oh, there's our Felix from LA.
Hey, shout out to
Shout out
Felix.
to Felix.
Yeah.
Talkie crew, you know that.
Speaking of which, we've got Felix right here.
Oh, there
Hey,
you go.
I'm printing you now,
Thank you,
Felix.
Felix.
So what did Felix-
A world where everyone knows genitals.
Don't equal gender.
Yeah, what? Oh, don't equal gender.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm learning Twitter speak now.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Love it.
Doesn't equal gender. Hashtag Transtopia.
Love it. That's great.
That's so. Yeah. I love how today that Twitter and Instagram, how people can like bust so many paradigms, so many harmful ways of thinking in like a few words. That's I think that's
Totally.
the power of how we're all educating each other constantly.
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because I feel like Twitter is a place where I tend to get a lot of abuse from people as well. So it's a great place for people to really connect. But I don't know if you find this as well, but sometimes you can end up in the midst of a bit of a storm, and people come for you en masse.
Yes.
And it's always, I think Twitter's a great place because you can get information out there. We can do cool stuff like this, but then the other side is that people can set up these accounts where they're quite anonymous in a way. Thank you. and they can get away with saying stuff that they probably wouldn't say to your face, actually.
Too slow in this production line.
Yeah.
I mean, if we think about it, I mean, you know, like, what is a hater? What is the psychological process of a hater?
Yeah, what's going on? Let's step into the mind of a hater for a second, shall we?
I'm like an academic over here. That's psychology.
I'm a big thinker.
Psychology for you.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I mean, I remember when I was younger, and I had like, I never really did it, but I kind of did a little bit of trolling as like a teenager.
Did
in
you?
School.
Who would you troll?
Like people at school.
Would
like,
you?
There's this thing called Form Spring, and people they'll be like, that's the only thing. Like, oh, I don't know. So I just kind of like put in like, oh my god. So like, was it you who had like dad's eggy butties at school? So, you know, I did like trolling like that. And
Did it make you feel better?
No, really. It was quite funny, to be honest, and it was quite like the thrill of getting away with it. And I think, you know, really, I probably just wanted to be liked by them.
Yeah.
You know, and
Do you
I think
that's what it is?
I think this is probably it. They don't like themselves. They've been taught not to like themselves.
They're obviously not happy people.
This is it.
Yeah, for sure.
This is it. I mean, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, go on now.
I think a person who goes out of their way and takes time out of their day to abuse someone online is someone that really needs to take a look at themselves, because I would never go out of my way to tweet nasty things at someone, even if I disagree with them or I don't like them. I would never go out of my way to do that, because it can also escalate and it can have really, you know, terrible consequences on people, and I just don't see the point, you know?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense, and I think people who do it are quite sad, and they probably are deflecting something inside themselves. But
I mean, it's a tough world, right? I mean,
Yeah, it is.
work through that stuff. Therapy, by the way, a really good thing. Yeah. Oh,
Al, I'm putting them all over here, so.
thank you, my
Yeah.
love. So, someone on the YouTube chat is asking what the book pages are.
Ah, okay. Well, it was a book that was sent to me by a young trans girl, and I'm happy to use the book pages. The pages are from a Harry Potter book, and we thought that we would put the book to better use by printing these separate pages for it. So we're just printing on some books that we had lying around, and yeah, we just thought it'd be really cool to show that we support trans rights. Well, of course we do, because we're trans people ourselves, but it's kind of a gimmick to raise awareness of trans issues and trans rights.
yeah,
and it
make
just felt
something
apt.
positive out of something that isn't positive at the moment, I think, because yeah, a lot of people are quite angry about what has happened with the author of Harry Potter, so we thought this would be a good way to make something positive out of a really bad situation.
Maybe you could tell us a bit about that if people don't fully know what's going on, Al.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's missed what's been happening in the media with the author of the books saying things which
You
people
definitely know that people have opinions.
yeah,
Even if you
and
don't,
you know, a lot of
That is true. That's
and a lot
very
of people
true.
feel quite hurt and quite angry about the things that have been said, because they feel like it's misleading and it's
Yeah.
not really what's happening. So people are just quite disappointed that someone would use their platform to say something which people don't necessarily think is true and is quite misleading. So
I mean, for me, it was a real personal heartbreak because I really loved the books.
Same here.
Yeah, as well. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of a shit sandwich as far as I'm concerned. Oh, I don't know if I can swear. It's kind of a, I've already done it, a rubbish sandwich
Gosh,
because...
darn it.
Darn it! I swore. I shouldn't have sworn. I'm sorry.
I might have been
Apologies
cool
to
now,
people
you know
at
what I
home.
mean? Please do not swear.
Yes, exactly. Otherwise we'll get this shut down. So, yeah, it's just, you know, somebody might be the best person in the world, but if they are transphobic and if they have a huge platform and they're allowing that transphobia to, you know, they're kind of sharing their opinion with the world, and they've got the opportunity to either make great changes or to add to the confusion and the upset in the world, and they're choosing to do the latter, then it makes me very sad because, you know, they've got such power, you know, and you know, I mean, Al, you used to play all the films every year.
Oh, yeah.
you used to have like a marathon every Christmas, but that's not going to happen again.
Yeah, unfortunately. But, you know, we're doing cool stuff like this, and, you know, I think it's helped with all of this kind of stuff, with people being out as trans or people being out as transphobic. You know, we're finding out who our friends are and who, you know, and there's lots of good
Who are
stuff as well.
snakes in the grass?
Who are the
As we
snakes as
say,
well?
as we say in Scousland.
Snakes in the grass.
Yeah, snakes in the grass. I'm not talking to no one, just dealing with the kids. That's it.
Love it.
I
That's
think
it.
I think it reveals a bigger systematic problem in the UK and in society in general, because this is all coming from somewhere, and where is it coming from, and who's making it happen? And I think the UK has an interesting history of how they treat LGBT people, like with Section 28 and everything that went on.
Wait, so Section 28, just for people who don't know.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, Maggie, basically. Thatcher!
Yeah. So
Thatcher!
when did Section 28 stop? I can't remember. Was it the early
2004?
2000s?
2004, that's good memory.
Yeah. So Section 28, for anyone who doesn't know, is something that was put into place which stopped or prevented teachers from helping, for teachers from being out as LGBTQIA, and also they couldn't help any students that were also really struggling and needed to talk about things.
Yeah, you couldn't speak openly about LGBT issues at school, basically.
So
It was like a propaganda law.
I mean, I just want to say that, like, it sounds quite familiar. I mean, was 2014?
Yeah, I know.
It's called Rosyjska Federacja by Mr. Putin. I mean, I'm just saying.
Exactly.
There are parallels all the time in life.
That's right, exactly true. So we are still, we're still in the shadow of Section 28, I think, here, and then also, like you're saying, in other countries, people can be,
Hashtag inspired. Yeah. like playing emoji hand in a that's our booty.
Totally. I know, it's heartbreaking.
I mean, it is also heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But that's why events like this, like Homotopia, is so wonderful, because we're able to celebrate being who we are.
Yeah.
And that can have a really positive effect, I think, where, it's just, I don't know about you, but growing up, I just wanted to see people who were a bit like me that I could connect with. And, actually, I think that would have been quite comforting. But instead, you find connection wherever you can, obviously.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, so we struggled through, and it's fine.
We struggled through.
Right?
Well, I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you too.
I mean, it's a tough old world, but you know what? We carry on.
That's
going.
right. We keep
Carry on
on
bringing
going.
out that light. Carry on bringing in that talent.
Exactly.
Should we read one of these tweets then?
Yeah, let's have a look.
Quads! My hashtag Transtopia would be a world where you don't need to wait for years to be diagnosed with and thereby given medical permission for an identity you've already figured out. That's quite a mouthful.
That's good though. Al, do you want to
But
break
I'm with it. But
Yeah. Do you want to break that down, Al, and explain why that's an
Yeah, I mean, I
important
guess
thing?
it means that, when trans people want medical help, they have to go to a medical professional and they have to give them a diagnosis of being trans. And I think a lot of
Yes.
trans people feel upset and annoyed that they have to prove themselves to someone and they need to get permission from someone who doesn't even know them. So,
I mean,
yeah.
if we're going to go a little bit deeper into it, it's really indicative,
Yeah.
let's use that word,
Yeah.
of this patriarchal society that we are raised in,
Yeah.
where capitalism is all about proving yourself
Yeah.
externally to people who might not really like you,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And it's kind of paying into that, validate yourself. I will be the judge whether you deserve to have this
Yeah,
identity.
Exactly. And I would go so far as to say, actually, in recent years, as capitalism has helped trans issues in some way, by thinking about like the mermaid Starbucks ad, where it was a really simple idea where someone got their preferred name or their actual name on a cup, and it was the first time that they'd been given that respect, I suppose, and I thought that was kind of cool. But I think ultimately trans issues is definitely a colonial type of thing. I think that if we look at other countries where the UK or the Dutch or whatever had kind of gone over and decided to take over, they'd eradicated...
Or the Portuguese or the Spanish.
Exactly.
Or the Italians or the
Exactly. There was kind of an erasure of the religion there, and also of the acknowledgement of more than two genders. So if we look back at many indigenous cultures, we can see, in the Native Americans, Two-Spirit, or the Hijra in India, and so on. So that there's people were acknowledged as being transgender and not stigmatized for it. It was kind of the opposite in some ways.
And they were actually celebrated and seen as these big holy people who existed outside the boundaries of humanity in many ways.
So I mean hijras, definitely for people who live this identity every single day, it's going to be something. But can we find out a little bit more about who the hijras are? 'Cause I think they're really, I know about them, but I think they're really
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I
group of
mean,
people.
in India, it's a specific sort of category of gender and how you experience your gender. It's quite hard to explain in our terms because it kind of just exists in that culture. But I guess it would be what we would call trans and intersex people. Like
Yeah.
they belong to the hetero community, and today they, you know, are quite stigmatized. They often live in poverty and they have to beg, and you know, and then their history is that they used to be these great holy beings who existed with, you know, both men and women and the spirit and all sorts of really spiritual things.
If we're gonna go there, I mean that's the truth of what the divine is. You know, it's
Yeah.
really. I mean, this kind of. I mean, I think on planet Earth, it's all about this and it's all about this. I've got this identified, this identified.
Like
but I think
boxes, like different people, different categories, when
exactly.
actually there's so much that really
there's
connects
so much
us,
more,
isn't
and
there?
I think this is like the limiting thing of capitalism. I think there's some big bad boss at the top who wants to be, you know, top dog, and by keeping everyone separated and keeping everyone like really achieving their full potential.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what kind of world we're living in, right?
Yeah,
So
like
whose
the
world is
complete
this?
one. I think that's it. I think 2020 is the watershed moment. You know?
I think it's I think it's an exciting time to kind of to look at us, to look at ourselves and look inwardly and think, you know, what am I doing in life? Where am I heading? What's life all about? And you know, I this year's been such a tricky one for so many people, but hopefully it's given people a bit of a pause, you know, a kind of a chance to really check in with themselves and just be like, am I heading in the right direction? Is the career, you know, that I'm doing the one I want? And you know, there's big questions about life because before you know it,
Is the American dream really the American dream?
that's exactly these wonderful questions.
God bless you, America. Anyway, thank you. So, our friends at Gyro Liverpool's LGBTQIA youth group have said on YouTube, "Gutted for all the young people who love Harry. Do you have any other good fantasy / sci-fi suggestions and any trans creatives to follow on socials?" I just want to add in gyro. I'm not sure if it's used in the same context, but gyro's a good Scousism.
Is it? What does gyro mean?
So in the 80s, if you get your
Oh,
dole
your gyro
through,
dole.
get
Yeah.
your benefits through. You go, I've got my gyro through, going to go out with the girls, nice.
Love
Going to go with the spoons, got my gyro. Like, yeah.
Love it.
Still used in Birkenhead.
But obviously this isn't the
Not
gyro.
obviously the context, but just adding that in.
Love
So
it,
yeah,
love
do you
it.
have any other suggestions for good fantasy sci-fi?
This
books?
is such a good question. Al, I think you might be the perfect person to answer this.
I'm not quite sure. I mean, there's a lot of things, and I think the thing is that there's a minority of authors today that are really, you know, who are anti-trans. So I think if you look at things like, even if you look at like really popular things like Star Wars or Star Trek, like all of these sci-fis are really trans inclusive, and the most recent Star Trek series, Star Trek Discovery, actually has 2 trans characters in the new season. So you're seeing, you know, sci-fi has always been about breaking boundaries of humanity, and they're traveling the galaxy. So of course people having a different gender is like such a basic concept in those worlds. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of great sci-fis and a lot of great worlds that are really, really trans inclusive. So I think, yeah, you just got to look for it. I think there's so much of it and a plethora of all sorts of great things. And I think if people want people to follow, I mean, there's loads and loads of great trans creatives out there.
And you know what? If you don't see what you're looking for, try and make it yourself, because, you know, that's what we do. And
Yeah. I mean, one of the people I can think of, like a trans creative, is Travis Alabanza. They're a
Legend.
non-binary trans person of color, and they're a performer. And
last year's artist in residence for Homotopia.
yeah,
Shout out.
They're an amazing artist, and there's loads of other people that you can follow online. And if you start looking into the trans world, there's great people. We have Charlie Martin, who's a racing driver. We have Kate O'Donnell, who is an actress and a creative.
As for writers, I think Juno Dawson's fantastic
Juno
as well.
Dawson is a
And
writer.
Juno Roche too, the
Juno
2
Roche,
Junos.
is another writer. So there's so many people that I could mention. I think we could be here all day, really.
All
But,
day,
yeah.
all night. Do you remember that song?
Yeah. Yeah.
Go on, give us that.
Okay, let me
Amazing.
read one of these tweets then. So this is from, I can't read this, CJ. This looks like some domino keys. Domino.
Yeah, it looks like, I think it's from Okello-Davies.
Oh, okay, got it. But I was reading the name.
Okeentropy.
Thanks for
No
the
worries.
shout out. Yeah, thanks. Okeentropy. A world where there's no concept of gender as we know it.
Ooh,
Transtopia.
what would that look like? That sounds interesting. Does that? I mean, because when I think people get a bit confused when people talk about gender neutral or gender. A non-binary, I suppose, as well, because I think people often think that that's a lack of gender, but actually we can't, live in a genderless world in that way. I think that it's more that it's gender full. You can you have the opportunity to wear what you want or express yourself in a masculine or feminine way.
I want to do like a bit of time traveling. So let's go to like 2004, for example.
Okay, let's go there.
And if we've got someone whose husband, embodies feminine traits, now that wife might say, oh, well, my husband's really camp.
Yeah.
But we've got 3 kids. So, and I think if we really analyze what that is, for me, that's like, well, this is a person who is not conforming to the binary that is placed down by society.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I think that maybe, like gender, I feel is very much a spectrum or almost like everyone's gender is very different. I feel like sexuality is very much so like that too. I feel like, I'm going to throw it out there, but I feel like maybe the majority of people are actually bisexual, and it's just like a variation, and sometimes you're so into masculine people that you end up being heterosexual or gay, or I suppose like of the binary. But I would assume that the majority of people like gender are actually somewhere in the middle. Dangerous concept, but maybe it's true.
I can feel the rumbling. Okay, so this is at Ashley_Owen. Oh, Rooted. We like Rooted scene as well.
Cool.
Shout
Shout out.
Rooted.
I've got trans men or men hashtag right here.
Trans men or men?
Trans men or men.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that.
No, definitely not. Let's read one of these tweets then. So, a world where trans people don't have to jump through multiple legal hoops and see a doctor to determine if they're trans enough to change their ID and birth certificate. I mean, this colonial system, as you were saying before, the
Right.
bureaucracy.
Totally. So in Ireland, which is obviously very close to us, they've been able to change legislation so that people can have the right to self-identify, and that's been wow, that looks pretty cool actually. Look at all that, brilliant. That's been the case for how many years now, Al?
Since 2015.
Since 2015, and there's been no cases of anyone posing as someone that they're not, or abusing the system. So it works absolutely fine in Ireland, and that's what we were hoping for in the UK. But unfortunately, it got tangled up with loads of other stuff and used as a political tool, and so it's pretty unfortunate. And there just seems to be a bigger minority of people in the UK who are quite vocal about being transphobic, about their transphobia.
All right.
Oh God! What am I like? What am I like? Cause murder.
Wrecking the joint.
Back in the joints. Cause a murder. That's another good Scousism. Cause a murder.
Yeah, teach us some Scousisms then, please.
Well, we've got, proper murder last night. So I remember when I was like 17, and I actually went to high school in Wigan, so people talk like that, they eat pies. Not particularly ethnically diverse as a place, so, we had to deal with that trauma, but that's fine. That's another another live that we can talk about. But when I moved back to Merseyside, I was 16, and then I went to college, and then there was this girl, and she's like, I'm sweating. Oh, last night, you can't even believe it, there's proper maids around my street. I was like, there was a maid, are you alright? So I've been away from the hood for too long, I didn't know what maid was. But yeah.
I take it it's a good thing, obviously. She had a good party or something.
No, maid means there was drama.
Oh shit, okay. Oh, I swore again, sorry.
Yeah, drama, or wahala as the Nigerians say. Shout out to Niger.
Wahala?
NSARS, just saying. Yeah, wahala, that's drama.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
That's a good little Scousism. What's another one? What's another good one?
Yeah, very good.
Going on the bounce.
On the bounce. What does
Going
that
on the
mean?
bounce.
On the bounce.
What do you reckon? Okay, you have to tell me what do you two reckon going on the bounce means?
I think it means going out for a night and having a good time.
I think so too.
Oh.
I mean, it depends on what you class as a good night. So going on the bounce. is when you got your 110s on, those that, you know, the Nike Air Maxes.
Yeah.
You go on the bounce.
Oh yeah, right.
And then you're about to grab someone,
Yeah.
jump him, commit an act of violence, and then probably feel quite good about yourself afterwards and brag about it.
Well,
Wow.
that wasn't the kind of fun I was thinking.
That's not
Yeah,
fun.
so
That's
it's
fun to
what kind
run.
of fun you're talking about.
Yeah.
We can talk about the Birkenhead bounce, you know what I mean, the Birkenhead bounce.
The Birkenhead bounce.
But it just depends on whether you want to kind of engage in that kind of, you know, physical
Wow.
contact with
Not
other
really.
people, especially when we need to social distance. We need to be aware of social
Yeah,
distance.
it's not
Totally.
really a contact sport. You know?
Exactly. So that's a good Scousism.
Amazing. Love it. It's really great to be here in Liverpool, despite the fact that there's a lockdown, because it's nice to be here in the studio, live, chatting to you.
Yeah.
And it's all been a bit strange because we're staying at a hotel and there's no restaurant open or anything. And yesterday was my birthday, so yeah.
Happy birthday, my mate.
yeah, thank you. But yeah, we got a takeaway. It was nice, and
Yeah.
I think it's just about the simple things in life, isn't it? It's just we brought our dog up as well.
Gorgeous.
Really
What's the
sweet.
dog's name?
Got a pointy dog called Soldier, and he's a soldier of love, obviously. His dad's called Soldier, and that's why he's got the
Soldier
same
of Love.
name.
Are you into Sade at all?
Sade, oh yeah, of course.
I mean, no, that's what Soldier of Love, like, great album, man. So, doggy,
Yeah.
what breed is the doggy?
He's half Whippet, half Italian Greyhound, and he's really cute. And yeah, we had walkies yesterday with one of Homotopia's chair. Are you called a chair, Char? No. Festival director, thank you very much.
Director.
The festival director has a dog that is a Whippet, and they both got on really, really well, so that was great. But yes, anyway, let's talk about trans rights instead.
Yes, please. I mean, we love dogs rights.
Of course.
A world where people stop obsessing. Oh, by the way, this is at Marcella Rick. A world where people stop obsessing over other people's genitals. Love heart emoji.
Yeah. People are
Justice.
obsessed with genitals.
People are obsessed with genitals.
Obsessed.
I mean, if we talk about PORN, I mean, you know, it's really drilled into us. I
For
think.
sure. And I think trans people are really fetishized. They're either hated or fetishized, which is really bizarre too.
Yeah.
Or probably a bit of both sometimes.
Bit of both.
Well, this
Sadly
is it.
enough.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, like, I mean, for a person who is non-binary, so obviously I'm non-binary, I'm not trans, but, you know, I think to some people I could present as trans. So
Because you're gender non-conforming
Yeah,
in
I
some
mean,
ways.
Exactly.
And
I guess
Yeah.
it's different to people as well because, for example, we see ourselves as non-binary, but we also feel ourselves
As
a part of
trans.
the trans community as well. So it's like different how people identify that and where they feel they fit. And I think, yeah, you know, if people feel they fit in a community, then they do. You know, it's hard to tell people like, no, you can't be in this community because I don't feel like you do. But I think if people feel like they're a part of the community, then they are in a way, especially when it comes down to trans people, because we're
that's-
so diverse.
Yeah, that's exactly right. If you feel like you belong, then you belong, you know? Yeah. But it's interesting that about being non-binary and not necessarily defining as trans.
I mean, the interesting thing about living in a place like Birkenhead, so Birkenhead is pretty uni-ethnic as a place.
Right.
And most people are Irish, most people are like, you know, working class, and walking around as obviously someone who is African, obviously someone who's femme, obviously someone who is hot as hell, let's just say it. And, you know,
Humble too, right?
if you're raised in the streets of Birkenhead, there's no need for humility, you know what I mean? If you can make it in Birkenhead, you can make it anywhere. I'm
Love
just
it.
saying. So, yeah, I think for me, like walking down the street, and now you will get derision from people, like kids, who can be very divisive, but then also at the same time, you can get like some kids from school, like schoolboys, schoolgirls, saying like, "Oh my God, I love your bag. That's so cute. I love your outfit. Amazing."
That's cool. That's good to
Which
hear.
is
yeah.
such a beautiful thing, you know, because it's not what most of us grew up with.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that kids are open-hearted and are okay with being open-hearted.
That's really cool. That makes me really happy about the future generation
Yeah.
of humans.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I feel like that is the case actually, that generally, we're going to generalize here, but I think the younger generation are less caught up with boxes and labels and so on and don't even want to define with that. And I think when they did have to, there was like a study that they did with young people asking them about their sexuality in America. Do you remember the...
Yeah, I think it was like about 50% of the kids saw themselves as not like cis or straight, so they saw them somewhere on the LGBT scale.
Like 50%.
And I think that's quite interesting, yeah.
Well, there we go. I mean, that's like,
That's amazing.
I mean, if we go back to that 10 years on, I mean, you know, who knows whether the percentage will go up.
Yeah,
you know,
very true.
Once the stigma starts dropping away. I think,
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, like, TikTok generation, I think Drag Race, I think, you
Yeah.
know, people hashtagging, retweeting. I think it's just becoming more and more and more and more so, like, the popular kids, it's not cool to be prejudiced anymore.
Right? Exactly. It's not cool to be a bully, and I think that's really awesome. Makes me, yeah, I'm also thinking about people like Sam Smith, who came out as non-binary, and Kay Tempest as well, legend. So yeah, we're getting there, I think. I think the more people who come out as non-binary or trans, who have a platform already, the better. And I do know of people who do define as non-binary, and you wouldn't, I don't want to say you wouldn't have guessed, but you know, you might not know. You know, non-binary doesn't really have a look. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's how people feel inside. And yeah, so there's people who do define as non-binary that are afraid to come out, who do have platforms that I know of, and I think that maybe that will shift over the next few years as it becomes more and more talked about and less of a stigma. And
Less of a stigma, less of a talking point.
yeah,
right?
people
I
be like,
think-
so what, are you a nice person? That's what I want to know about.
I mean, I guess, you know, certain figureheads in the British media, you know, would have an idea of things, or would have like a certain opinion about things. And
Yeah.
I guess now we're kind of realizing that, oh, they were actually just making us think that they were the best because we were scared of them.
Right.
But now that we're realizing, oh, okay, so what, you're like the little old man behind the screen, like Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, no, it is really exciting times. And I feel like the conversation about being non-binary is quite a recent thing too. Like,
Yeah.
you know, although as we talked about, being non-binary isn't a new thing. You know, it's that more people are recognizing who they are and they're coming out as non-binary. I kind of equate it to being left-handed sometimes. I mean, I'm left-handed, and back in the day, people weren't allowed to be left-handed, if you know what I mean. They were kind of forced to write with the other hand, the devil's hand, of course.
Oh, the devil's hand, sinistra, sinistra, as I say in Italian.
So
Sinistra.
yeah, exactly, sinister, right? So if there are more people who define it as, well, not define, there's more people who are left-handed now, but it's not an increase, it's just the fact that we're allowed to be left-handed. So I think it's the same for trans people, that we're allowed to be trans, we're allowed to be non-binary. Well, not necessarily, I mean, mostly. We should be allowed to be non-binary, should be allowed to be trans.
I mean, right. Okay, shall I have a peek at one of these?
Let's have a peek.
Peeky.
Oh, they're flooding in, you're kind of non-stop, aren't you there?
I
So
mean, really are. I mean, like.
shout out to Soph.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
all right, love, all right.
If you want to switch, let me know.
Okay, let's have a peek.
Yeah, how
So-
are we doing for time as well? What's the time?
Oh, we are. Time check.
40 minutes. So I suppose for anyone who's just tuning in, maybe you could tell them what we're doing. If
What
you-
are we doing?
I don't know.
What are we
doing?
So we're here at the Unity, you guys. Thanks for tuning in. So we are here with Fox and Al, and we are just discussing, you know, well, we're enjoying Fox's
Yeah, we're.
creative process right here.
Yeah, sure. So I'm doing some screen printing, and I'm taking online hashtags of support for trans rights, and I'm turning them into an actual thing. So for each one, we're looking at what you're saying, and we're adding your handle, your Twitter handle, or your name if it's via Facebook, and then we're printing Transtopia. So you're part of, it's kind of a collective or a shared art project, in my opinion, because all of this represents support for trans rights, which is pretty cool. And I think because, especially this year, because so much has happened online, I think it's kind of like quite fun to be able to take it from online and bring it back into real life. And we get to play with colour as well, so it's cool.
I mean, I think this discussion of online and in real life, I think, you know, just to say, in all my years of education in Britain, you know, the topics that we're talking about now, it wasn't on the table, right? So
Yeah, massively.
I think the educational opportunities that we have on Twitter, you know, we get to connect with some of the, you know, the kind of the most respected minds on so many issues, and you know, to be able to absorb their wisdom, their hard-earned kind of knowledge on this stuff, like, and being able to apply that into real life.
Yeah.
So we can have a more just society. It's become such an amazing tool.
Yeah, totally. And as we said before, I think Twitter can be a blessing and a curse. You know,
tell me more about the curse. If
the curse of Twitter.
If you like.
Well, you know, it happens occasionally. I think that, you know, I didn't decide that I wanted to be a trans activist. It just, when I was starting my transition about 10 years ago, I realized
What would you like to be when you grow up?
I want to be a trans activist and cause trouble.
Yes.
No, I honestly just thought I'd just be an artist, but you could be both, obviously.
No, you can only be one thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so...
That's reminded me.
But yeah, I think online it can be pretty horrific for people, and people obviously have to duck in and out as to when you can handle it. But
Oh yeah.
I've built up a thicker skin over the years. I don't know
Yeah.
about you. Do you kind of not care what people say about you? Or?
To be honest, I think the powers of be have kind of protected me from a big following. So I've got like I think a couple thousand followers on Instagram and like 700 on Twitter, and you know, to be honest, at the moment I'm just attracting people who are genuinely interested in what I have to say.
That's wonderful. That's really good.
Which I think is a blessing now. You know, as we as creators in this uncertain economic world kind of progress, then obviously we'll get a wider following. But I think it's a really vital time in your formative years to be able to get that support, because obviously support is what we all deserve.
Of course we do. Yeah, you're right. You're right. We do deserve it, and we just deserve to feel safe and supported regardless. Oh, you got another message coming through.
Are we keeping count? How many have we had so far?
Very
Well, I
good
guess we'll just have to
question.
count.
Okay. Okay. Anybody got your little tally up? Okay, should we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Actually, okay. What 3, 6? No. I'm.
Should we guess? We
Can
do
we
it.
guess?
Let's do a guess.
Do a
So
guessing game?
1, 2,
2, 4,
5,
6,
6,
8,
7,
10.
9, 10.
So maybe 15,
It's like
15,
15 on a line, maybe.
15 on the line, 15, 30, okay, 45, and then we're going to guess like, what, 60?
60 so far, yeah?
60.
70,
So let's
70.
try and get to 100, shall we?
Yeah, let's get to around 100.
All right, so if you're watching, then please give us a retweet, or tweet using the hashtag Transtopia. Totally.
So, oh wow, okay, well binders aren't so expensive, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark.
Sure. So a binder, for anyone who doesn't know, a binder is something that can flatten your chest if you want to have the kind of the look of a flatter chest, and they can be. It's a double-edged sword, a binder, because it's either it helps with someone who might feel dysphoric about their chest, but also it's very, very restricting. So it used to give me a lot of pain to wear a binder, because I used to wear, you're kind of recommended to only wear it for about 6 to 8 hours a day, but if you're dealing with dysphoria, you're out for a long time, you're just going to be wearing the whole thing. And I know people who used to wear binders to sleep because they just didn't want to, deal with anything.
Yes.
So it's really difficult, because you can cause long-term damage with wearing a binder. And I've heard of people cracking ribs and breaking ribs and bruising themselves and so on. So yes, it's a real deal. So so the comment about the binder, what were they saying? Where binders aren't so expensive. Yeah, so the binders can be expensive, and I think when you're working out who you are, there's a lot of stuff to buy to kind of to feel more yourself. But it's kind of when you're trans, it's more like you work out who you are by what you're not.
Yeah,
Okay, so
What we got?
comments from our live stream.
Okay.
So Felix says, L8! Bra, bra. Big up L8!
All
Loving the
right.
event. Loving you, baby.
Love it. Love you, Felix.
Water Goblin says, hell yeah! Making trans rights
Brilliant.
art out of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean, you guys
it.
are great.
It's nothing less than alchemy, I think, turning rubbish into gold, right?
Voila. So Fauzia J says, this is boss. In
Hey,
agreement with that.
thank you.
Tarlov. Jack Dawes says, hey Fox and Al!
Hey, hey Jack.
hello.
Awesome.
Thanks for that, guys.
We've got a good production line going here. Now, how long do we have left before we have to stop because we're only doing this for a certain amount of time. I think
43 minutes.
we've got 40 minutes, so we're about halfway through, I think, which is
Okay.
cool. So, wow, I think we have the potential of running out of space, and
Wow.
I don't know what we're going to do when that happens.
I mean, can we just like, we'll put an out J.K. Rowling's Dirty Launch. Internet me. Thing.
You're great, Gavin. I love you.
Love you too, baby. Love you too. Okay, so this is Rochan Usagi Ha, and then there's like ... so we didn't get the full.
Rochan.
Rochan.
Let's just say Rochan.
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 What's that one, Rochan? Okay, so hashtag Transtopia means people don't feel the pressure to pass or the fear of being outed. Horrific to experience. They can live their lives however they want to. It also means they should never feel shame for being who they are.
Yeah, too right. Big up, Rochan.
Thank you.
Yeah. Lots of really nice stuff coming through. It's nice to see that people are sharing the same sentiment.
Yeah, it's. I think for me, it is a really moving thing to see because, you know, shame is just so embedded in us from an early age. You know.
Yeah.
I think being queer in some respect, you know, the shame is instantly put onto you as soon as you show signs of that, right?
Because we live in a kind of a straight white man's world, maybe heterosexual.
Yeah.
Exactly. So tell me a bit about your identity as non-binary and how you explored that and discovered that for yourself.
I mean, to be honest, like, I remember when I first heard the term non-binary, and I was just like, non-binary? Huh. And then I was like, as I was thinking about non-binary, I was putting red lipstick on to go out the door.
Love it.
But then I just didn't think that non-binary would apply to me because I'm just being me.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
and then I guess recently, I think with lockdown, I've gone through lots of things, lots of picking off loads of conditioning that has just been put onto me. You know, in like this society, we've got to just carry on going, got to carry on working.
Right.
So
Like,
you never get time to reflect.
we were talking about that earlier, weren't we? Where you just, hopefully the lockdown, despite it being such a weird year and such a difficult time, that hopefully it's given people the opportunity to press pause like you have and just kind of be like, what am I doing? Who am I? Where am I going in life? And
Yeah.
all those questions which we should be asking ourselves on a regular basis, actually. Because
Yeah.
before you know it, like, time's a funny thing, isn't it? Before you know it, you're, I don't know, time's moved on.
Exactly, it has moved on and got to get back to the real world. So I think for me, my non-binary experience, I think, like, for example, I was speaking to a friend and we were in uni together at a kind of a very prestigious university. I'm not going to give you a shout out. You can do better.
Oh, I'm intrigued now.
Yeah, you have to do Googling.
Oh.
So I went to this university in London, and you know, for me, I was just like, great, I'm going to university. This is an opportunity for me to be like, to live my Elwoods, you know, my African Elwoods life, you know?
Yeah.
Because I did Russian and Spanish.
Oh,
you
wow,
know.
amazing.
And for me, I was just like, well, what do I love? I love chatting to people, I love traveling. This is totally great. I love dressing like this way and that way. So I just went over there, and I thought people would just like me because I'm a likable person.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't really understand that, you know, in a city like London, prejudice still exists. Oh.
It is shocking, actually, in a way, because you think, my God, the metropolis, surely you can be who you want, and that's why everybody flocks there to be themselves. Yeah.
So, I mean, that was a really challenging thing, but what I don't think I appreciated at the time, which I think is really common, was that I actually had a person in my class who was trans themselves.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So whilst I was in that, you know, as I said, I'm a non-binary, not trans, but we were both kind of in those Spanish classes together, in this kind of very cis-het, middle class,
Right.
kind of European, Eurocentric kind of lesson structure.
Wow.
We were always representing not just our queerness, but also the fact that we are both African, you know, both mixed African heritage.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, there's that intersection. We're never just one thing, are we? We're
No,
always,
never.
you know, multiple things.
Yeah. So, I guess it's a recent thing for me to say. Actually, well, of course I'm non-binary. I mean, I've had loads of female cisgendered friends who've identified me as a sister,
Right.
and also with my cisgendered male friends who've identified me as a brother. So like I'm completely.
You're like, I'm both. It's
Yeah,
fine.
I mean it's cool. Like I'm literally both, and I guess like just taking on that label without wanting to be labeled is like, well, actually, I genuinely am that person.
Amazing.
So that's me.
That's the future. That is where, you know, a world without labels, because we don't need them anymore. It's like we need labels in order to just get rid of them.
Yeah, need
They're
labels
useful.
to identify systemic oppression.
Exactly.
When it comes on.
I hear ya. Oh yeah. Oh, we got more incomings.
Incoming! Q question from Petite Ava on YouTube. As an activist, do you ever feel like you are always justifying yourself? Or
Yes.
fighting the same battle over and over?
Yes.
And if so, what advice could you give folks who feel the same?
Oh, it's like Groundhog Day sometimes, isn't it? Al, I feel like you've got a really
Just watch
smart...
that on telly, by the way, great film.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah, this is on telly.
Did it last the test of time? Like, I haven't seen it for a long time, so...
To be honest, like, yeah, I think that's like a psychological, spiritual kind of film.
Spiritual.
Yeah, I mean, what's it all about? He goes in and he's
Sure.
all about this kind of this me guy, and
Uh-huh.
he starts to realize, oh, maybe improving people's lives and making people happy whilst being happy at the same time. Maybe that is the meaning of life.
That's so true.
Oh yeah, wow, okay. Anyway, so that's
I
my
love
take on
that.
it. But
Yeah,
back to the question.
I think all activists are constantly saying the same thing. I feel like whenever I go into an interview or I get in a thing, I'm always almost saying the same things. But I think through that process, you also learn
Like a
to...
brood van de regel.
Yeah, like a
Basically.
broken record. And I think you kind of learn to say things differently, and you kind of learn new things about yourself in the process as well. So there's always something you learn, and there's always someone new who's learning something. So I try to remind myself of this. This is the first time someone's heard this, even though I've said it 1,000 times. And I think, you know, there is change being made, and we're slowly making progress, but it takes longer than we think, I think.
And also, I think burnout is really real in our community, you know? It just,
Yeah.
and you don't realize it until it's, you know, crept right in, and, you know...
Especially with like youth, you know, because it's like, oh no, everyone's doing this, everyone's doing that. I can
Yeah,
catch
yeah.
up, it's fine.
Yeah.
Exactly. You always feel you're always looking at what's going on around you, what other people are doing. They seem to be so much more successful,
Yeah.
like, you know, or prolific. And yeah, I think that, as we were saying before, like, you know, we're on social media right now doing this, and it is a blessing or a curse. So you have to try and dip in and get it to serve you. But advice to someone who's an activist, who's struggling, you know, I really hope, you know, in the future that we would have moved on a little bit, you know, and that actually it won't be such a difficult fight anymore, because we would have, you know, further advances with legal recognition and so on, just basic human rights, really.
Yeah, and I think people need to take time to do things that aren't related to their activism. So do a hobby, or hang out with friends, or go out for a drink, or, you know, do something that isn't
Watch
related to
Groundhog
that.
Day.
Watch
Yeah,
Groundhog
watch
Day,
Groundhog
exactly. Get a spiritual lesson from
Start playing
Groundhog
video
Day.
games. Something that takes you out of that, I think, is really important.
And also, there's different ways to do your activism. So I used to feel like I had to be on the front line, like always, you know, defending my right to exist and so on. But actually, when I do step back a little bit, it gives me a chance to be like, right, I'm going to work on a kid's book, or I'm going to, like, you know, and it's all translated usually. So it's, you know, there are different ways to help out and make the world a better place, if you know what I mean.
For me personally, you know, my main focus right now is Black Lives Matter. I mean,
Yeah.
George Floyd happening in the United States. Like I was actually on a Zoom call with people who live in Chicago.
Oh wow.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I just basically came in and just sung their praises, because Black people in the UK have so much to owe to Black rights activists
Right.
in the US. I mean, they are in the center of it. They get the worst treatment out of all of us, you know?
Yeah.
So, speaking to them and learning about how important it is to feel connected to a wider movement
Absolutely.
is so important. And I just wonder, you know, you said about, you know, taking a step back, whether either of you feel like I kind of like a pressure to kind of keep up with it. You know, I don't want to be complicit in the system that is oppressing me. And all this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
Do you
is
feel that pressure?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Am I doing enough, you know?
Yeah.
And there's always that guilt, you know, and you can only do so much, obviously, but there just seems to be so much need for support for various people that are just really, really being hard done by, you know. That don't have a voice themselves, that aren't able to, you know, they just don't have the access, or they're just so in the middle of it that they just can't, they can't help themselves. You know, I'm talking about people who are like loving parents who've had trans children taken away from them, for example, and they're given these gagging orders where they're not allowed to speak about it, and it's just like how do you help
local
someone?
authorities?
These 3 cases are all based in the same city, actually, which I won't mention, but it's all the same area, it's the same gatekeepers and so on. So there's something flawed with that, you know. But how do you take on the system, you know? Like, that's like huge. So yeah, it's tricky. But you know, I'm really excited though with, you know, things like Trans Pride that's been set up in various cities, and and same with Black Lives Matter as well. I mean, that's something that really, really needed to be talked about. And you know, seeing the statue in Bristol, for example, being ripped down from the slave owners, and
About time!
exactly, too right. And you know, and of course we're in Liverpool, where it has a huge history of that.
I mean, our Lawrence Westgaff, genius on this subject. What I read on Lawrence's page is that 80% of the ships that left.
80%.
Yeah, 80% of in Britain, you know, left Liverpool. Yeah, so Scousers, we've got a lot to contend with here, haven't we, you know what I mean? But I remember sharing that with my friends from the US, like, it's like, hold on. We literally have information that no one else knows.
Really?
It's not known. Like,
I didn't know that, yeah.
In London, people do not know about Liverpool's incremental role in the slave trade. So they absolutely don't know in the United States.
Yeah,
so it's
sure.
like when you realise actually the gap in this education of the actual truth of things, it's like, well, we really do have some work to do.
Yeah, massively. But we're having these conversations
exactly
now, and that's so important.
I've got this question to ask. Okay, so Lewis on YouTube. Love you all and this stream.
Yay!
I'm a second year BA fine art student and a big supporter for my trans siblings.
Aw, that's nice, thank you.
Can you two do an art talk at my uni?
Oh, well, for sure. Get in touch. mygeneration@gmail.com.
Oh, wait, say that again?
mygeneration. See what I did there?
Mygeneration. I really do. I like that.
At gmail.com.
gmail.com. Okay. Oh, by the way, happy belated birthday.
Ah, thank you very much. Cheers, Lewis. So, look around. Look at this. Oh, our work is done. That's it. Bye. See you later. Bye. So,
we'll have to extend it.
So we're going to extend it now. Perfect. So we're going to keep printing, and we're going to keep adding to it. A makeshift. Cool. Next layer. Thank you, Soph. That's brilliant. Okay, cool. So we'll carry on. This is really good news. I didn't actually think we'd fill it all this soon, but hey.
I mean, it's a big flex, guys.
Sure is.
Sure is. So yeah, this is really, really cool.
I mean, just because we've run out of space, it's no reason to stop printing, I guess.
Oh, that's me.
Asking people to
At Gavin Odhiambo, shout out to me.
Shout out to you. You just found your words. That's great.
I don't actually have chewing gum, but I wish I did. Like.
Snap. Yeah, tell us about the project. So what's going on? What's happening for anyone who's just tuning in?
For those who are just tuning in, so we are doing some screen prints here, and you can tell me more.
Yeah, sure. So what we're doing is we've asked people to retweet or comment using the phrase Transtopia. So people are telling us what Transtopia means to them. So if you're not trans, it could be you're wishing for a better place for your trans siblings, for your trans friends. And for trans people who are retweeting, they're saying things like more gender clinics will be better with better processes. So people want gender clinics to be better, for example. So it's kind of the idea of a better place for trans people, hence the name Transtopia. And we're doing this at Homotopia, which it all seems to make sense to do that. So yeah, we're just printing as people are doing it, and we're taking things online, it's happened so much this year, stuff that's been online. We're taking it from the online into the real life, which is quite fun because I get to do a pretty color blend. And
Yeah.
we're printing.
I mean, it is a great colour choice. I love the pink and blue.
I know, it's a classic, right?
Classic.
Classic. But the non-binary flag is different to the trans flag.
Is it really?
It is, yeah.
I think
Yeah,
I
we can
think I
swap
have
it if
seen
you
it.
want.
You've
Tell
seen
me
it?
the colours of the trans
It's
flag.
got yellow, purple, white, and trans
Sorry,
flag.
what?
Trans flag. Oh, sorry, non-binary flag.
Oh, it's yellow,
Yellow.
purple, black, and white.
Black, that was the other colour, yeah.
Yellow, purple, black, and white. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, jackdaws. I just wanted to say thank you to Fox and Al for all they do.
Aw,
We
That's
may
very
not
nice.
have a Transtopia now,
this
but
is true.
they're helping make our current reality as good or as close as it can be.
Aw, thank you, Jack. Really appreciate that. It's really lovely. Well, we're all making it a better place together, and we all inspire each other. So it's an exciting time to be alive. And
It certainly is.
yeah,
It
you know.
certainly is. Okay, so
or maybe a scary time to be alive. I don't know.
it's
It
also
depends how you
it's
see
everything
it.
at the same time.
Exactly, exactly.
Everything at the same time.
So what are people saying online?
So we've got one from Charbins.
Don't know who that is.
That's okay. Get to know. Get to know. So many moving, enlightening, and witty tweets on the hashtag. On the hashtag.
On the hashtag.
Hashtag Transtopia right now. Get involved and watch the live stream here.
Great.
Okay, that's Charbins. Okay, yeah.
That's very informative.
That's
Thank
really
you.
informative. That's
That was
so
good.
funny. Well, we know exactly who Charbins is. I just embarrassed myself. Good thing that I don't embarrass easily.
For anyone who doesn't know, Charbins is the festival director for Homotopia.
Director. second
Shout out, shout out.
in the stream. Oh, we have a right laugh over here, don't we, love? Oh, what we like. Around the twist. Around the twist. Okay, so one from Merseyside Police LGBT Plus, where being you is not for debate or discussion. Hashtag Transtopia.
Okay.
Thank you.
And who else? We've got more legal recognition that doesn't cost money. Yeah, it's true. So the GRA, when people want to apply for their legal recognition, obviously they don't allow for non-binary people, but if you're applying to be seen as a man or a woman, then it's about, what, £140, I think?
Yeah, but it's gonna.
Oh, they're lowering the
but it's
cost.
still
So £140 for.
To like give them all your paperwork and for a panel to decide that you are the gender that you say you are, basically.
Wow.
But apparently it's getting slightly better. So there won't be either as big a charge or there'll be no charge to do that. And I think they're going to, are they getting rid of the panel, Al? I'm not sure.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, guys, if you want to go through this transition and you've got imposter syndrome, then
I mean,
you know you have a really tough time.
just imagine
trigger warning.
having to send your information to a panel
Yeah.
that never ever meets you in real life, and they have to decide whether you can change your
Your birth certificate.
birth certificate.
It's pretty weird, isn't it? But that's been the case for quite a while. And, you know, and as we're saying in other countries
Right for
like
change.
Ireland, yeah, then they give people a bit more respect and autonomy and the ability to self-identify, and there's been nothing's gone awry with that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's all been fine. So hopefully we'll get that in the UK at some point. So yeah, that's what they're hoping for. Let's see, what else are people saying?
So we've got one from Liverpool, Everyman. A world where trans people are celebrated and loved always. Hashtag Transtopia.
Aw, that's so sweet. What a lovely thread. That's good.
So one from Liv_Erin, where my mates don't have to justify what pronouns they use and why.
Brilliant. So there's a trans supporter right there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Trans lives matter. Hashtag.
Yeah.
Ah,
Cool. Well, this is very exciting.
it is. It is. Honestly, it's such a good. I think it's such a good thing because you said you're from Brighton, didn't you?
I was born in London, and I live in Brighton at the moment. Yeah, yeah. Which is, I mean, people see Brighton as a bit of a, I don't know, like a bit of a gay mecca, I suppose, or you know, for LGBTQIA plus people, and it's pretty good for that. But I feel like, I don't know, there's always more that people can do, and it doesn't mean that Brighton's necessarily got it all sorted out. I think there's still, you know, issues with race and so on that need to be dealt with. But
That was on the tip of my tongue.
yeah, exactly. So, you know, just because there's a Yeah, we don't just want a transtopia, do we? We want, you know,
Yeah.
every type of topia.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you.
can't argue with that.
Yeah. So,
Transcend Theatre says to us, where all hate crimes are properly investigated,
yeah.
victims feel supported. Now, doesn't that sound like utopia, everybody?
Yeah, too right. Shout out to my friend Lewis, who was unfortunately beaten up around Pride, and the people there broke his jaw, and all 5 of them just haven't been prosecuted at all, and the police didn't even want to report it as a hate crime, so it wasn't, even though it was at Pride, and you know, it was quite obvious it was a hate crime. So yeah, I do hope that people are listened to when they report stuff, and yeah, just want things to be better for people. They're preferably not beaten up in the first place. That would be nice, so they don't have to report anything.
This is it. I think, you know, with Pose, for example, it's, you know, it really puts the focus on the second intersection of people. So obviously Marsha is the original brick thrower.
Totally.
You know, like that's,
Shout out Marsha P.
That's the one. I think that intersection of blackness, of queerness, of trans women from the streets of New York.
Totally.
I think we can, I mean, especially in Britain, seeing as, you know,
Yeah.
African people would be in the United States if it weren't for Britain anyway.
Right, exactly.
So, you know, it's such an important thing to see history as a whole and
Yeah.
not just pick parts that we want.
Exactly, and black trans women are the most misrepresented, most vulnerable members of our community, and you know, of course, trans people, they range so massively, and we have such a huge variation in our community. But yeah, we have to make sure we can't just look out for the ones that are, you know, conforming or that have passing ability or so on. You know, we have to support everyone, because, you know, otherwise, I don't know, what kind of world do we live in?
Question.
More questions.
So, can you ask Fox what else they're doing while in Liverpool and at Homotopia?
Oh, very nice. So, what else am I doing? Mostly, well, tonight I'm doing this event, and tomorrow, what are we doing? We are doing, hang on a sec.
Film night?
Yes, we're doing the film night. I've got a piece of paper in my pocket somewhere with everything. Yeah, we're doing the film night tomorrow night, so we've got a 10-year, well, almost 10-year film project called My Generation that we talked about a bit earlier. And My Generation has made over 100 films, short films. We started out with documentary because we felt like we wanted to cut out the middlemen and start making films ourselves as trans people about trans topics, because we felt like the cis perspective just wasn't quite right, that they were kind of really focusing on quite typical things like surgeries and hormones and whatever, when there's actually more to people than that. So we're going to do a screening of almost 10 years of My Generation films, which will be good.
That's cool.
And then we've got a really, really cool intergenerational chat between a 70-something-year-old trans woman and a, I think, 12-year-old trans girl. So they're almost, I think they're over 60 years apart in age.
Wow.
But it's going to be really powerful because they're just going to like talk about what it was like realizing that they were trans, or what it was like growing up back in the day. And yeah, so that should be good. So that's going to happen after that. And then the day after that, I've got an in conversation with Sophie Green, who's a legend in Liverpool.
Okay.
She's a trans woman who is a massively creative person. And do you know all the, what have you got around? Is it the bees that you've got? Like, you know, the big, like they do the plastic structures. Is it bears, bees? It's a banana.
Lamb banana.
A lamb banana. What's a lamb banana?
Lamb banana, so like
What's a
2008 capital of culture.
Ah, yes.
Scouse emblem nowadays.
Okay, cool, yeah.
I mean, I don't know who the lamb and the banana. I've never seen lambs
The
walk on the
lamb
streets
banana.
of Liverpool.
I love it.
But
There
lamb
it
banana.
is. It's a lamb banana. So I think did Sophie design the lamb banana? No. I'm wrong. I'm wrong about that. Sorry, Sophie.
Okay, don't worry. Calm.
Good illustrations of it.
Cool illustrations. Okay, gotcha. yeah. So we're going to be chatting to Sophie at Mersey Maid. I was thinking mermaid. I was like, it's not mermaid. Mersey Maid. It's like a cool cafe with like loads of independent artists that are upstairs that have like lots of
That's sick.
cool things.
Where is
Yeah.
that? I've never actually been.
Ah, amazing. Whereabouts is Mersey Maid? Paradise Street.
Okay.
by John Lewis. It's shut at the moment, unfortunately, but they're kind of letting us in to do the chat, and then they're kicking us out after that. Yeah. Yeah.
Merseymead, all right then. Born
Yeah.
and bred in Merseyside. That sounds like me too. Merseymead, just get a little tattoo.
Love it, Merseymaid. Love it.
So we've got one here from Rooted Zine. A world where the Unicode Consortium, a panel of a bunch of white cis men, don't get to decide whether there's a trans flag or not added as an emoji to the official emoji list. Oh,
Totally true.
Unicode Consortium, excuse me.
Sort it out. Yeah.
That literally sounds like that. You know, we were talking about sci-fi books before. That literally sounds like a sci-fi title.
Yeah,
It does.
Okay.
Sounds like a Black Mirror episode.
It does. Hey,
You
queer
follow
joy
me,
is
Annie?
radical self-care. That's great.
So, question from live stream.
Cool.
Your work spans so many areas and art forms. What are you most proud of?
Oh, that's so lovely. Gosh, I'm so proud of everything though. Like the films are just like, I think films are a really powerful medium as well, and I feel like we've been able to make something because of the intimacy. Like people trust us, so therefore they're more intimate with us. So I feel like it's always a collaboration. So I think my favorite stuff is when I get to collaborate with people and I can help to share their story. I think the cool thing I noticed when I first started making the My Generation films is that I would almost present someone back to themselves and it would give them a real boost. So there was, for example, there's a trans woman who's a poet that I used to see around all the time, and I was like, oh, I really want to get to know her, so I asked if I could film with her. And I made the film, and then after that I noticed that she was no longer on her own when she went out. People would go up to her and be like, oh, Alice, I really want to chat with you, or come sit on my table and stuff like that. So that was just such an unexpected thing that was like amazing. So yeah, stuff like that really gets me going. I just feel really privileged because I feel like I've managed to sort myself out, you know, so I'm in a better position to like thrive.
That is so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's something for for all people who are activists. I mean, really, I argue that we should all be activists for one another. You know, we don't have to be trans, we don't have to be black, we don't have to be,
Yeah, we're
to
human,
actually,
aren't we?
really, you don't have to. We don't have to be able-bodied to be an activist for others. So I think, but that is such an important point, self-care, so you can care for others.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you have to rip up some more book pages, actually, now. Let me see.
There's some more here.
No, I think we'll use these ones because they're the same size.
Okay.
You might to do some ripping, so you might want to...
So this
Yeah,
one's from Elaine, Elaine. I want to paint something for my daughter and her wife in lesbian flag colours.
Yeah.
But I'm confused as to the correct colours.
Oh, that's such a good question. Now, I'm a little bit confused too, but I think it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 colours with white in the middle as a band, and then there's variations of like pink and red around it. So actually, I don't fully know either, but I do know that if she types in lesbian flag, she'll probably see about 3 different variations of it. So go ahead and choose whatever. But they're all kind of a bit like that, with a bit of pink and a bit of red and definitely white in the center. So yeah, there you go.
Thanks very much.
There's a flag for everyone. That's really sweet though that she's going to make that for her.
I know, I love that.
Was it her daughter?
That's so
did
sweet
you
for
say?
daughter, yeah.
Cute.
My daughter.
That's so
and
cute.
Her wife in lesbian flag colours, yeah.
Oh, it's
that's
lovely.
So sweet. That's gorgeous. This is a very
What's that?
important one. This one is from Regan, and it says, where trans characters are played by trans actors.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Very, very good. So Al, maybe you can tell us why it's important for trans people to play trans roles.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in a place where people don't understand trans people fully. So the typical thing is to cast a man to play a trans woman. And what that does is it kind of enforces the stereotype that trans women are just men who dress up as women, and people don't really get that trans women are women first and foremost. And I think, when these actors get off the role, they can just take off the clothes and then go back into the world. But trans women don't take off being a woman. They are just a woman wherever they go. So I think that's the fundamental misunderstanding. So if people want to cast someone for a trans woman, at least cast a woman, whether that's a trans woman or a cis woman, you know, at least cast someone with the right gender for the role. I think that's a basic, very basic thing to do today. And I think we have loads of great trans actors. They can take on
there's
really,
no
really
excuse.
great roles.
Yeah, no excuse really anymore because there's so many trans people.
And I
that
think
do-
beyond that, we also need to start giving trans actors roles that aren't just trans roles.
That's
so
the future.
just seeing trans actors
Yeah.
play cis people as well is great. And there is an actress in America called Jen Richards, and she was recently in a series where she played some scientist, and she wasn't a trans woman, the character, but she was a trans woman herself, and that really gave a visibility to a community.
That's gorgeous. That's
Yeah.
a gorgeous story. I mean, I worked as an actor in London, and I remember this one conversation at a certain studio.
No names, no names.
No names. I'll tell you after. And it was a woman, a cisgendered woman, and she was involved in the production of a new film.
Mm-hmm.
And she was very kind of adamant, well, if you're an actor, then you're just playing a role, so it doesn't matter.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
Right.
I know how I know we're not there yet. When I turned to her and asked her, a black trans woman playing Winston Churchill, would you be okay with that?
What'd she say?
Not much. She asked me if my coffee was good.
Wow. Well done.
So yeah, there we go. I mean, you know, the future has already arrived. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah, I think you're right. You just got to step into it. Yeah,
Step into the role.
that's it.
Enjoy it. Okay, so this one is from Anton Blake Horowitz. When more feminist cis women activists for equality embrace their trans sisters, unite against toxic masculinity,
Yep. Shout out.
stop spreading transphobic fibs. That's a good
Fibs. Love it. Naughty, naughty. Stop fibbing.
about men in dresses in public toilets. That would be a start towards my vision of #transphobia.
Totally. I think a lot of people who aren't trans get their information from other people who aren't trans about trans people. So it can be really, it's just really frustrating sometimes because, there's lots of fibs going on.
I've not heard those words since I was a baby.
I know. Fibs.
Don't tell fibs. It's a cute word.
Yeah, it's quite cute.
I like fibs.
So what else have we got going on the Twitter? And please keep on sharing your tweets as well and getting involved on all different platforms, on YouTube as well. Shout out to the YouTube people watching.
So, this is from the live stream. How are you staying busy and motivated during lockdown?
Ah, that's a good question. How are you staying motivated and busy?
Whoa. To be honest, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've been going through a lot of things. So just to talk about, you know, my position as as an activist, right? There's a lot of calling out of a lot of non-black friends, okay?
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of resistance. Then there is also a lot of acceptance and solidarity at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the people who have kind of showed resistance, you know, they're not always so sensitive or caring about how their words will impact me. So, you know,
annoying.
we've had a bit of grieving over that.
Does that involve you deciding you don't want them in your life, or
Yeah, or me being blocked by them.
Oh right. Wow. Well, that's you know the same thing as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Gosh. Yeah.
I think really like 2020 is like clear out here. You know what I mean?
Oh, massively. You're so right, actually. Yeah. Yeah, you find out who your friends are, that's for sure, eventually. I had to block someone I was friends with since I was, you know, a teenager, and that was heartbreaking, you know, to discover that she'd been radicalized and just wasn't even open to a conversation about trans rights. It's felt really sad. So yeah, it sounds like you've been dealing with some annoying issues, but maybe it's for the best ultimately.
It is for the best, because I think, you know, especially being British, you know, this need to be polite. This is what I've been talking about. You know, like, oh well, maybe they just.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know
Making
what?
excuses for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh well, I know them. You know, surely I can get them to understand a bit better. It's not your responsibility to do that in the first place, and it's exhausting if you have to do that with everyone. It's just sad, isn't it?
You just want people to be on a level, so it's
Yeah.
kind of like the onus is on me, so then the onus is going to be on you to do that job for me, so I can live my life. How about that?
Exactly. Anyway. That's it. Oh, more incoming.
Incoming. Okay. So we've got less than 10 minutes left. How many tweets have we had? And why has this been important to do today?
Amazing. Okay. Now, I cannot tell you how many tweets we've had. We'll probably have to clock that up afterwards.
I mean, you guys are doing
but
great. I haven't even been watching this.
We probably have like 200 tweets at least.
Yeah, I would say.
Wow,
Yeah.
so it's been a roving success.
It's very impressive. And the other question was, why today? Well, why not today? Because we're not there yet with trans rights. And I think it's important to do stuff like this to raise awareness that that we would like a better place, a better world to live in. So lots of people have loads of suggestions as to how we can make this place a transtopia. And I think it's almost like a ritual as well, isn't it? It's kind of nice to go through the motions and like I say as well, because we've been living so much online this year, I think it's really great to be able to take something that's from online and kind of convert it into real life. That looks like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's kind of, it actually makes me feel really happy to know that there's this many people that are out there that are really rooting for trans rights.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
More incoming.
Incoming! Update from Ardelaine, who asked about the lesbian.
Ah, there we go.
Thanks so much. I was going to watch elections news, but you all are much more fun and happy.
Yay!
That's amazing.
Vote Gavin.
Oh,
This
gosh.
is good.
This is really good.
Yeah.
You know, it's really good to be involved in such an important discussion.
Yeah, for sure. I think we've only got about 7 minutes left. I can't believe the time. It's gone by
Yeah,
so
I think
quickly.
we've also ran out of string. So
Oh,
I'm not
really?
sure.
Oh, we've run out of string again. What are we going to do?
What are we going to do?
Oh, no, we have to just hold them ourselves. Yeah. That's
Stick them
great.
onto our arm.
Well, I'll just do a few more and we can just always put them on the table, I guess,
Yeah, you
instead.
can just scatter them
for now.
around here. We can put them on the floor maybe and just scatter them around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to everyone for making this such a popular event. You know, I was worried that we'd have lots of spaces, but actually, yeah, it looks good. It looks really good.
So bad. There's one tweet I love here. Pretentious dross. Queer joy is radical self-care.
I love that. I thought they were like making an exclamation, pretentious dross, about it, but that's just the name of the person.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's funny. I mean, I don't know if that's them in the little picture.
Yeah, they look cool from the tiny icon.
Tiny little light.
Yeah, shout out pretentious dross.
Thank you.
Oh, they're one of your queer core. Oh, brilliant. Oh, shout out even more than pretentious
Yeah.
dross.
Bigger shout out!
Hey!
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at these as well, like, so this is part of like the Translate Human Rights hashtag. So there's one here, an artist has made some really cool stickers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So-
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love stickers. Love a good sticker.
Love a good sticker. Hashtag Nazi as well. Get myself an
Love it.
on that scout style. Oh yeah, all rooted says, oh I know right, just seeing your OMG, this is boss.
Brilliant. Well, I want to thank everyone for being part of this strange experiment.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun. And I'm not sure if this art is going to appear somewhere else. Like there was talk of maybe this kind of being taken somewhere and put somewhere so that people can see it. But I'm totally up for that if that needs to, yeah, if that can happen. And yeah, it feels really nice. We've got one final incoming, I think.
Thank you.
I thought you should do a little sound every time it comes in.
I mean, we'll have to think about it. So you got like your little Grafton phone.
Yeah, yeah.
If you like an intern, you know, sort of-
They're all terrible.
They're all terrible, but also hysterical.
Yeah.
Anthony on YouTube asks, any trans or non-binary artists that inspire you?
Wow. As we mentioned before, Travis Alabanza is a legend. The non-binary, trans feminine, and I might not use that one because it's a little bit ripped. Gosh, there's so many great artists. I would say check out the homotopia.org website because they've managed to curate such an incredible festival with loads of really cool artists. So I think that's probably the best place to go to. Al, have you got a favourite trans artist? Or it could be anyone, like a drag queen or a
so
singer.
many, like I don't even know where to start. But yeah, I think, as you said, Homotopia is a great start to find people. And there's all sorts of other festival or lists if people look online of people. So I think, you know, just start Googling and start finding people online because people really need support now, I think. So find people, follow them, retweet their stuff, buy their things, you know, support activists and artists because they really, really need it, especially now.
Now more than ever.
I think being in cyberspace, and obviously if you care that much about the world, then you care about what's happening in the elections, you care about, you know, the violence that's going on, and you know, there's so much stuff going on. You can really get into cyberspace and feel like lost and feel like, oh, am I even a real human being or am I just a login?
Yeah, totally. And I think it's also worth mentioning that just because you're trans or non-binary doesn't mean you should make or you are going to make specific art based on that. You know, you're not beholden to that. You don't have to do that. But obviously, art is a great way to implement change or to have a shared experience. Or to just like get difficult situations off your chest and turn rubbish situations into gold.
Time is up, 30 seconds for
Oh! All right, we can do the last one right here, last one. Here we go. Oh my God. Well, what an incredible experiment. There we go, last one.
Oh my
Yay.
God.
Great.
Brilliant.
We're going to do a countdown.
Oh yeah.
19, 18, 17.
That's it.
Wow. So
amazing.
So here's like the grand winner. Who is this person?
You know, we've gone over them. When it dries, we'll be able to see them a bit better, but it is Show You're Working.
Show You're Working.
Show You're Working. Shout out.
Sounds kind of reminds me of like maths, you know. Show You're Working.
That's the slogan I think for Homotopia this year as well, isn't it? Show You're Working. It's kind of it kind of means give us your receipts. So if people are supportive, like, what are you doing? What are you actually doing?
Yeah.
Which is good.
That's genius.
Great.
Cool. So thank you so much, Gavin, for driving us through this.
Yeah, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, you're a legend. And for the Scouse, also for sharing the language.
You know what, you just got to represent as much as you can.
Yeah.
Just got to represent. Liverpool champion.
Totally.
There's plenty of us, but yeah.
And Soph, you're a legend too. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
and Soph is modelling Tarsiers Against Transphobia, which is one of my shirts, which you can get online. Yeah. You can get it from T-Mill, foxfisher.com, foxfisher.tmill.com, whatever, it's out there. Yeah.
That's so cool. Tarsiers, I think it's from Australia?
Tarsiers are really, really strange creatures.